Wonderful. So that was our day one in terms of the recap of what was happening right now. Another video that we want to show is just a quick welcome address. That's about 3 minutes from His Excellency Yuri, the Secretary General from GECF. So if my team can kindly bring up his welcome address.
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings from the Gas Exporting Countries Forum. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to the organizers of the African Energy Week, for they have realized this milestone event despite all the countless challenges. Their determination encourages GCF to continue being the voice of Africa. At the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, Africa enjoys the center stage in our mission to bring this cleanest of fossil fuels in aid of Africa's right to development. The 5th GCF Summit of Heads of State and Government held in 2019 in Equatorial Guinea, which marked a progressive leap for our forum in placing Africa at the forefront of our gas development agenda, commits us to work steadfastly in raising the crucial role of natural gas in Africa's uplift. However, our work is only beginning. According to the latest available projections in the GCF Global Gas Outlook 2050, Africa will witness the highest growth rate in natural gas among all regions of the world, at nearly 150% up to 2050. Countries such as Senegal and Mauritania in Africa stand on the precipice of the league of gas exporters in the short term, while Mozambique and Tanzania are expected to become natural gas exporters in the medium and long term. Furthermore, according to GCF's first ever annual gas market report, Africa boasts a number of promising growth indicators, for example, in the area of power generation, in transport through natural gas vehicles, and in innovative investments. Working hand in hand with powerful voices in Africa, including that of the organizers of the African Energy Week, I am confident that the day is not far when natural gas will bring long-term and sustained economic growth in Africa, facilitate the social development of African countries, and help achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We are taking this same message at COP26 as well, to demonstrate to the international community how the GCF member countries have placed climate action at the forefront of their priorities. Our current focus is on exploration of all possible options, from technology and innovation to research and development, in order to cement the role of natural gas as a solution for a balanced energy transition. As a sample, the forum joins a growing international consensus that clean methane-sourced hydrogen based on carbon capture, utilization, and storage will play a significant role in the world's transition to a sustainable energy future. Ladies and gentlemen, today's energy inequalities are staggering globally. The percentage of countries that consume more resources than their ecosystems can regenerate is as high as 74%. In contrast, 729 million people are living without access to electricity, and hundreds of millions more lack access to clean cooking fuel. These stark realities diminish the progress made on Sustainable Development Goals, and certainly Sustainable Development Goal number 7, that is affordable and clean energy. Compounding these grim figures are the recent upheavals in the gas markets and curtailing of finance. This is despite the fact that when it comes to carbon dioxide emissions, sub-Saharan Africa is collectively responsible for barely 0.5% of all global emissions. This is why the Gas Exporting Countries Forum will continue to speak up for Africa, for we believe that is very much in the power of Africa, a power that rests with Africans themselves to change the destiny of the mother continent by harnessing the true potential of gas and transform itself from an energy-poor region into one that can drive the world forward. As an aside, I am truly honored to have been nominated for the Lifetime achievement award at this edition of the African Energy Week. But this isn't about me, it's about you, all the passionate advocates on Africa who are unremittedly fighting to bring energy equality to this immensely resource-rich yet untapped continent. This is about Africa. Thank you for your attention, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. Without further ado, I would like to kindly call up our moderator for the morning, Ms. Elizabeth Rogo, who's the president for East Africa for the Africa Energy Chamber. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Let me remove this. Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. My name is actually Engineer Elizabeth Rogo. I'm the president for East Africa for the Africa Energy Chamber, and I hail from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm very happy to be here. I was asked to come and moderate, so if there was any delay, it wasn't my fault. But I'm very pleased to have you, and I think this is a very interesting topic that we're going to look at, the golden age of natural gas. May I take this time to invite all the participants or the speakers, and I'll start off with, I'll just say your first name so I don't butcher anyone's name at the beginning. We have Mr. Vladimir from Gazprom. Is he here? Thank you, Mr. Vladimir. I think this is Nosizwe, Ms. Nosizwe from GE Gas Power. That lady or man? Do we have anyone from GE Gas Power? Please have a seat, Mr. Vladimir. Dr. Ibata from SNPC. Ooh, a lady. Thank you. Oh, and another lady. Thank you very much. And Honorable Niani from Senegal, please, sir. Thank you. Please have a seat anywhere you're comfortable. And Mr. Marinas from Sasol. Thank you very much. So let me take this time, ladies and gentlemen, do you have your mics? Are they on? So Mr. Marinas, maybe you can start off by introducing yourselves, and I'll have the rest of the panel introduce themselves, just 30 seconds, who you are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Good morning, everyone. Fellow panelists, my name is Marinas Niemand, the Vice President of Strategy in Sasol, the energy business. Natural gas has been a very integrated part of our journey over the last 2 years, so very happy to be here and good to see all of you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sheikh Nyan, I'm Permanent Secretary for Energy at the Ministry of Petroleum of Senegal. I'm very happy to be here and to discuss this important topic with this panel, and looking forward to having very good discussion and fruitful ones. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nosizwe Dlengezele. I'm Chief Commercial Officer at General Electric. I look after the sub-Saharan region. I'm very excited to share our thoughts on how gas has been able to transform a number of the markets that we work in, as well as the opportunity that we see in South Africa.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Bijay Ibata from the National Oil Company of Congo, SNPC. I'm the head of the division in charge of joint ventures and relation with the Hydrocarbon Ministry. I'm happy to be here to show you what Congo has been recently doing on the natural gas market. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Vladimir Ilyanin. I'm the Deputy Managing Director in Gazprom EP International. It's an outside subsidiary of Gazprom that oversees outside of Russia production. I run international cooperation and business development in the company.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Before we start on the questions, I thought I'd give you a little tidbit. Sub-Saharan Africa has 221.6 trillion cubic feet of proven natural gas reserves. The Middle East, when you compare it with the Middle East has almost 13 times the amount. Euro-Asia has almost 10 times the amount. Natural gas production in sub-Saharan Africa grew by an annual average rate of 10% over the past 10 years. When we look at where natural gas is found, the biggest field so far has been in Egypt's Zohr, in the Mediterranean, and we also have giant accumulations found on offshore Tanzania and Mozambique, with recent discoveries off Mauritania and Senegal. Nigeria, as you know, is actually the largest, I beg your pardon, who has the largest natural gas in Africa. That would be Nigeria. So let's just start off with a couple of questions and we'll move on. I'd like to ask each of you, what does the term golden age mean to each of you with respect to natural gas? Mr. Vladimir, can I start off?
I guess I hope for Africa in particular that gas will stop being the byproduct, because for many, many decades, gas was rather a byproduct of oil exploration. Everybody was interested in liquids, and gas in itself didn't represent a valuable commodity. This all changed in the last several decades, and we hope that this is the right time for gas to take its place in Africa. We believe the fundamentals for that are there. We saw in the morning that there was a blackout, and we understand that Africa is changing. There's a rapid urbanization, there's a population growth, and it's completely impossible to think of a safe and prosperous environment, urban environment, without enough electricity. And gas, as Mr. Centurion from GCF reiterated, is the cleanest and fastest way to serve the population in solving their electricity needs.
If I can ask Mr. Marinas, with regards to the blackouts that Vladimir just alluded to, what does the golden age of natural gas mean to you in South Africa?
So from a Sasol perspective, I think we would feel that the golden age of natural gas for us has been going for quite a while. As you may know, the Sasol journey with gas, if you reflect back on it now, stretches for more than 2 decades. And gas has been a highly value additive component of our business strategy, both in terms of using it for process, in producing synthetic fuel and other products, but also in terms of electricity production. So I think the link is certainly there, and I can tell you that as a strategy person, I'm very thankful for the role that gas can play in the backdrop of the energy transition in terms of providing us with the flexibility of navigating the realities of what we have currently, not only in South Africa, but also which is going to just intensify as we go through the energy transition. And I believe that gas will play a very significant role in that.
Thank you. Dr. Ibata, may I pose the same question to you, golden age of natural gas, and in relation to Congo?
Yeah, like everybody know, here Congo is the 3rd oil producer in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, and Congo is mainly known for its oil production, and for the past years, gas has always been a byproduct of oil, and it was mainly flared. But in 2007, the country took a decree for stopping gas flaring, and gas flaring is totally forbidden in Congo now, apart from if you need to use it for production, on-site production. So what we are trying to do right now is trying to find ways to monetize our gas resources. Congo has about 15 TCF of natural gas resources in place, and about 5 TCFs are considered as economic reserves that are recoverable. And in order to better use those gas resources, Congo just finalized a gas master plan, and this gas master plan has identified 4 main areas of project in Congo. The first one being electricity generation, the second one having to do with chemical industries, with mining and cement plants, and the last one, which is one of the major ones, is going to do with an FLNG project. And we are about to sign an FLNG project with one of the major IOC of the country, and by the end of next year, Congo should be starting exporting FLNG And we think that for our country, it's really a big advancement for our hydrocarbon sector.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Nosizwe, with regards to the GE power, natural gas, golden age of natural gas?
Thanks for that question. I think from a power perspective, the dominant theme, I think, has been decarbonization and what it's going to take for certain countries to leapfrog into an energy mix that allows for that journey and that transition to happen. And gas, we call gas a friend of industrialists and countries who want to industrialize. If what you're seeking to do is to retire some of your coal fleet and begin to create this energy mix, gas is the only replacement for baseload power that can instantly create 50% of decarbonization in any environment. Second, it's also the only flexible type of power where, in combination with renewables and some of the intermittency issues that come along with renewables, allows you to run a stabilized grid. As sentimental as we probably want to be about this decarbonization story, specifically to our region in Africa, we need to think about how is it that we're going to create an industrial economy around gas that also allows for economies to grow and scale. And with now the availability of gas in some of these key markets that you mentioned, such as Senegal, very excited about the work that we're doing in Senegal, putting basically initially what's going to be their largest power plant on the ground for them to really spur that industrialization. Really excited about the developments coming off Mozambique, because we also understand what that's going to do, not only for energy security. And I think later there's a chat on South Africa where our ideas from a power perspective are quite clear that in South Africa, power can create the required, it can create the right demand and have the right economies of scale for a successful, not only gas to power project, but for the development of this gas economy. And that time is now. And I think this morning was just an indication of that reality, to say this is the reason why, in particular for South Africa, it would be that golden age. It's available, the investment appetite is there, the need is there, and are we going to coordinate ourselves to ensure that we capture this specific opportunity?
Thank you. We'll definitely come back more and discuss the power issue. Dr. Honorable Niane from Senegal. What does the golden age of natural gas mean to you, and in Senegal in particular?
Thank you very much for this question. This is first a big hope for us, because in Senegal, as you was mentioning, we have big discovery in terms of gas in the north of Senegal. We share with Mauritania this project named Grand Tortue Ahmeyim, where we have around 15 trillion cubic feet discovery of gas. And first, for many reasons, this gas is a big hope. The first one will be about to reduce the cost of production, because we all know that in our areas we have very high cost of production, because most of our countries are using heavy fuel oil, which is very expensive and depending to the price of the barrel and so on. And in terms of environment, it's not very convenient. So first, to reduce the cost of the production for our countries. So this is very important. We have a strategy named Gas to Power. And in this Gas to Power strategy, we are planning to convert all the power plants in gas, and also building combined cycle gas turbines power plants. So also we have a big power plant with General Electric at Dakar. So we plan to have a mix based on gas. For example, in 2025, we plan to have 70% of the mix from gas and 30% renewable. So the gas is very important to reduce the cost of the production for Senegal. The second one will be also through this gas project in Senegal, we are planning also to finance our energy transition, because we are planning also to export one part of our gas. 2.5 million ton per year will be of LNG will be exported. So all these resources from this gas will be also used to finance renewables, to finance different projects in terms of hydrogen and so on. So this will also help to continue our energy transition, which will be through the gas, through renewables and hydrogen and so on. And the third part will be also to industrialize our countries, because in our countries we need to industrialize our countries, we need companies, people need jobs and so on. And we think that this gas and these resources will help us for the industrialization of the country. So it's in the whole value chain, actually. And we are very exciting for the upcoming years with this new discovery. We have this project that we share with Mauritania, but we have another one also, 100% Senegalese, named Yakar Teranga, where we have around 15 trillion cubic feet discovery of gas, and this also will enable to do our gas to power strategy for the whole country, and also with the neighbors, we are within the West African power pool to exchange in terms of energy, and this can be an integrated project for the whole area in West Africa. And we are also working with different countries that already discover gas, for example, Ghana, Nigeria, and all the brothers countries that already have experience in terms of gas. So, long story short, it will be a big hope for our countries, and we are very excited on that, and we're working on it with our different partners. Thank you.
Thank you. Vladimir, if I may, Gazprom is the largest natural gas company in the world. And I think you produced in 2020 431 billion cubic meters of gas. So why the interest in Africa?
We did, and I think, well, first of all, we are a government control company still, and we have come a long way from being a ministry of gas in the old Soviet Union and transforming into the biggest gas corporation in the world and one of the most successful. And we would like to see more success in the gas, and we believe that any particular country here could replicate our success on its own scale. But we believe that there are things that are paramount to achieve that success. We learned it the hard way. We probably don't come from the West, as per se. We come from the North. One of our compatriots, the Google founders, Gabriel, used to describe us as Nigeria with snow. So in that respect, we have certain, we are very similar to Nigeria in a way, because I worked there for 3 years, I know for myself. But we also have these challenges with the weather, and we had the challenge with the industrialization. Our gas revolution happened in the 80s, where we had to build the infrastructure. We understand the hard way that it takes certain things to be able to be successful. Like our colleagues from Congo are saying, it's paramount to do the long-term planning. Without long-term planning, gas business is impossible. There are no quick fixes. There are no low-hanging fruits. You have to think 20 years ahead. And that's a challenge, because our political cycle sometimes is shorter than that. And the decision makers refuse to take decisions that will benefit their successors. And there's no other way. In gas, you have to think long-term. And I'm very happy to hear that Congo has a gas master plan, that Senegal is going with one. If there is need, we're also willing to support gas master plan developments. We do it for Latin America and some of the former Soviet Union countries. We have specialized institutions within the Gazprom group that do it. The other things that are very important would be the interregional aspect. Like the Honorable Minister from South Africa said yesterday, that cooperation within the region will be crucial for the gas market to be developed. If you look at African gas reserves, you probably won't see another region where you have so much stranded gas. And that's because the domestic markets and the regional markets are yet to be fully developed. And for this to happen, there will be need for a sizable investment in infrastructure, pipeline infrastructure. We know that Sasol is doing, for example, a great example of a project that integrates the gas reserves in Mozambique with the demand in South Africa. We would like to see more of that in the continent. We don't see many other successful examples like this, unfortunately, but we hope this will happen. We also hope that the LNG will not only happen for the exports to the global market, but there will be a sizable regional LNG trade, but that will include requirement for investment into smaller sized vessels, into ISO containers. And that infrastructure investment is what we believe should be crucial. It's important to see that it happens, and we understand now that the big financing institutions and the development institutions are beginning to withhold money from investing into fossil fuels. We believe it's a bit too early, and we understand that there's a wish to try and counter this move, like GECF is now thinking of creating a bank that will invest in gas development worldwide. So our hope is that the gas market in Africa will have its golden age. And the truth be told, the more gas is consumed in Africa, better off are everybody of us, gas producers. Africa is better off in terms of economy, in terms of cost of production, and the global gas market is more balanced. The issue of the stranded reserves, the reserves that don't have the FIDs or being delayed, will no longer be there.
Oh, thank you. Marinus, let me talk about Sasol a little bit. When we think about Sasol, we don't normally think about natural gas. We look at we know you're an integrated oil and gas company. We know about your proprietary Fischer-Tropsch technology. But for those of us who have worked in Mozambique, like myself, together with Sasol, we know that you've been very busy with the Mozambican gas. Could you tell us a little bit on how you're distributing that gas and how it's helping the maybe Mozambique and South Africa markets?
Thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah, so if you look at Sasol, gas over the last 20 years has certainly been one of the cornerstones of our strategy. You know, even today, I would say that the bookends of our strategy is that, you know, we've announced that we're not going to invest in new coal reserves on the one bookend, and on the other bookend, we've said that we want to long-term be a leader in the hydrogen economy in South Africa. So in between lies gas, which we believe is an incredibly important transitional feedstock for us. And as I've said, our journey with gas started in the early 2000s. Particularly, as you've mentioned, in Mozambique. So if you work in Sasol, you're very familiar with the fact that about 10% of the energy intake into the South African asset base is based on gas. And I think two things that we've learned. The first one is that gas is a very important value added to our organization and to our process. But I think the second aspect, if you look at it from a wider perspective, not only gas in isolation, is that actually if you position gas very well in your energy mix, and for us it's now coal and gas together, then there's additional benefits that you get in terms of the synergy, in terms of the mix. So in terms of the distribution, yes, we have upstream producing assets in Mozambique, some of the gas of which is distributed into Mozambique. Some of the gas then obviously comes to our assets that we have both in Secunda and in Sasolburg, where we produce not only synthetic fuels but also chemicals from it. Things like wax, ammonia, methanol, various other chemicals. And then it also goes into the South African market and even into the domestic market. So that's the role that gas plays in our business. And for us going forward, not only trying to sustain the role that gas plays in our business, but also looking at how it can help us actually navigate the energy transition that we see. So particularly interested not only in preserving our business, but also in the decarbonization benefit that we can get from gas, but also then linking that particularly and trying to ensure that gas also takes its rightful place in terms of the energy mix in an energy transition in South Africa.
Thank you very much. I remember when I was a young engineer working offshore West Africa, and I was on a ship, and all of a sudden saw this orange light in the horizon, wondering, what is this, a big city? And they told me, no, this is gas flaring, and I was in shock seeing all this energy, being released. So I'm so happy to hear when Dr. Ibata is talking about the control of gas flaring in Congo, and the fact that you now have a gas master plan. So my question to you is, how is Congo positioning itself to optimize and monetize its new gas assets or its assets?
So, as I said in the beginning, Congo is mostly known for its oil production. So now we are really trying to use our natural gas as the main fuel for energy transition. But I don't really want to use the word energy transition because when we say energy transition, we mostly think about the fact of moving from fossil fuels towards other kind of energy like renewable energies. I would rather use the term low carbon emission transition because gas is a much more cleaner fossil fuel energy, and we think that in this energy transition, it's all the kind of energies that have a role to play. And so far in Congo, we are using natural gas as the main energy transition source. Natural gas today produces in Congo about 70% of electricity, and for us to use natural gas to achieve the sustainable development goal, especially goal number 7 and goal number 13 that were approved by the UN Agenda 2030. And we think that right now we are on the right path because we are already using natural gas on the local level. We have power plant generation facilities from natural gas, and we are moving now towards exporting our gas. As I said, by the end of 2022, we should have a floating LNG project that is going to go on board. So using natural gas for us in Congo is actually helping us to get on the boat of energy transition, but still sticking to the core value of the OPEC member countries who believe that all the energies have a role to play in this energy transition. And we really think that the fossil fuel like oil and natural gas will still play a major role in the upcoming future. And we believe in natural gas, and we are really doing our best to get investors to come to the countries and to be able to launch more projects. As I said, we have so far around 5 TCF of recoverable gas reserves, and those 5 TCFs are more than enough to cover all the projects that have been identified so far in Congos, and we still have more reserves available for other projects that we can identify in the forthcoming future. So we are calling all investors that are interested in natural gas, that don't know Congo or that are already there, to come and see us. We can give you more information about our country and about all the opportunities that you can find for investing in Congo in natural gas.
Well, thank you. I hope everyone's heard. That's why we're here, looking for business and opportunities. We'll definitely come to Congo. I wanted to move on to Ms. Nosizwe. GE, world leader in power generation. How would you fast track Africa gas monetization as a key component of the global energy transition? Is that an unfair question? I'm not.
I think it's a broad question.
It's a broad, yes. So I leave it open to you to best interpret.
And maybe to really think of it, I'd like to just ring fence that to our region,
Yes,
SSA,
please
right?
do, please do.
Which I look after, because I think our approach is very different from a General Electric point of view, depending on the markets where we sit.
I understand.
What has been fundamental about how we've been able to create a platform and an opportunity for gas in Africa is that we had to, and I would not necessarily say pivot, but we had to create a very strong project development and capacity building effort within our own teams specific to SSA. Naturally, as an OEM and in other markets, this capacity already exists in the market. Mm-hmm. So our ability to go in extremely working with our partners, whether it be utilities or it would be even, would call them junior developers who have an appetite for the space but don't really have a view in terms of how does one get to the finish line we take concerted effort into bringing our experts, which range from our legal experts, fuel experts, engineering experts, to really take, our own communities by the hand and to show them then the art of what's possible. And I think that's what makes the team at GE, because not only are we great at selling turbines, but actually our core strength is in building and developing these projects, right from project origination, partner identification and coordination, ultimately with the view to execution. It's not been easy. And for a variety of reasons. I think one, political will. There's only so much that a multinational can do in another country. It's as far as you can stretch. I think the investment, which we are seeing specifically for gas-fired projects, we see. I think that COP26 has also created more around financing and bankability of these projects. And thirdly, quite challenging, this relationship between the feedstock and the tariff. And ultimately, what's going to be cost reflective to the market may not necessarily be cost effective for the communities within that market. And that's what investors want. So in our region, these are the things that into consideration in terms of how do we mitigate for them. I think through this early engagement with really partners, through our original nation, in terms of how we approach the market. What I'd like to mention is the importance of localized. And I speak from a multinational perspective because ultimately it's a two-way bridge that you need to create. You need to create the internal confidence within your business that it's worth you being in the region for 5 years, conceptualizing a project that might take another 5 years to reach financial close. And how do you keep that fire burning internally? But I think also really working with the multinational leadership to understand the nuances of our region and to also look at the opportunity size. And so that balancing act is quite important in terms of how effective you become. We have over 100 plants in Africa, which is something that I believe is commendable through a combination of all of these efforts, these balancing acts, and early market engagement. And so we may not be able to resolve all, but I think where we do have the appetite and the skill set, certainly we do. Coupled by the fact that we were able to also throw in a couple of millions of dollars to help these projects kind of move along. Not so easy anymore. But yeah, I think in a nutshell, that's how I'd approach that question.
Thank you. No, it's a good answer. It brought up in terms of the investment appetite and what COP26 is doing. In fact, I'd like to pose the question to Honorable Niani. When we're looking at gas monetization vis-a-vis investment appetite, are you seeing any issues with regards to Senegal?
Yeah, with regard to Senegal, I will maybe more focus on this financing of this gas project. Ash was mentioning, we just right after this COP26, I think that our countries need to think about the financing of the gas projects. I think the gentleman from Rotterdam mentioned it also. This is very important for us. I think our gas discoveries are very important for our countries, and we don't have to even be feared to talk about energy transition with the gas, because we need to develop our countries, and we need reliable energies respecting the environmental aspects, because as everybody was mentioning, gas is cleaner than many others type of energy, and we need that one to reduce our price of electricity and also to industrialize our countries. So the financing of these projects will be very important in the upcoming years, and also in Senegal we are also working on the gas master plan, with all the value chain regarding the demand, the mining companies, and all the industries that need the gas. And I think that it will be very important for our country for the upcoming years. So also the resource from the gas that we will use will be important to finance that one, that energy transition. And we really need to talk about this topic in the upcoming months within the different panels, with Apple, with all the different panels, because it's a key point for our countries for the upcoming years. Because if we do not success on that one, we will be staying. We cannot develop our countries only with renewables or renewable are part of the energy transition. This is sure, but the gas also. Countries that discover gas, that have gas, we need to use this one to develop our countries. So I will more focus on that one, on this speech.
Thank you. I think I could ask Mr. Vladimir, coming from a well-funded organization, are you bringing funds along with you when we're looking at development?
It's a great question, and definitely the gas market is very capital intensive. And if we're facing the situation where the banks are unwilling to finance, that means we will have to put more equity on the table. But that will in turn ask for something from the host governments. They have to be aware that there should be a fair government take, justified guarantees to the investors to make sure that we are making the return on investment, if it's equity that we're looking for. And I see that a lot of countries in the region have started to review their legislation, Angola, even Algeria, to review the government take, because the situation is not like it used to be before. If it has to be less leverage than liquids industry, if it's gas, if it's domestic oriented, the government has to also play a role, understanding that making sure this investment happens brings a multiplier effect to the economy that will pay back in the future significantly more than the immediate government take.
So if I can pose that question also to Sasol, being another big company, and what you're doing, are you seeing any effects from external financiers with regards to natural gas?
So as you know, Sasol is considering a number of investments upstream with respect to natural gas. And I think when we reflect on the fact that it's the golden age of gas, I really believe that now is the opportunity, for gas to move. I think I've already said that, we have this book-ended strategy where there's a very predominant role for gas to play in the center, and I think that time is now. But I do believe that, over the longer term time, that window is going to start to close as gas starts to compete with, with substitutes that's going to drive the energy transition. And I think, from that perspective, it is incredibly important that one of the pain points that is difficult to overcome in terms of investments is in terms of uncertainty. And we really have to think about all the ways that we can relieve the uncertainty that goes both into the upstream and the downstream environment. So whether it comes from a technical perspective in terms of the definition of the assets, in terms of the business opportunities that come along, the partnerships, the regulatory and policy environment that gives more certainty upstream, but also from a downstream perspective in terms of market definition. And you've already referred to the opportunity that we see now with load shedding and the power situation in South Africa. I think that is one of the most immediate pain points that we need to address, and to the extent that we can reduce that uncertainty, we'll probably be able to better utilize this window of opportunity that we have to get external funding also into gas in the short to medium term.
So, Marinus, let me just stick with you. I just want to look at quickly innovation and value creation in the natural gas
Yes.
arena. Can you expand a little bit more from from your side?
Thank you. So if I put it on a Sasol lens, innovation is very dear to us. In fact, if you look at Sasol's purpose statement, it says innovating for a better world. And you can see the innovative spirit interspersed throughout the whole natural gas journey that we've had. And I think it comes at two levels. The first level is probably looking at the gas system in isolation. So certainly technical innovation has been part of what made our gas journey successful, but also business and partnership innovation around regulatory and policy, and even social constructs. How do you make sure that you bring communities along with you in terms of the gas journey? But secondly, I think I've alluded to this before, one of the important areas of innovation is then correctly positioning gas as part of the energy mix. So certainly for Sasol, what we've seen is even though we only bring in 10% of our energy input into our process from gas, the contribution of gas is disproportionately larger than that in our business because of the synergy between coal and gas. And what you find is that there's no energy feedstock that only comes with benefits, they all comes with drawbacks. But if you start to superimpose those feedstock on top of each other, you get to a more optimized system. So I think from the lessons that we learned certainly translate, I think, very well to the bigger gas industry globally. So firstly, of course, innovation is incredibly important, and it is very important that the gas industry continue to go down the learning curve and improve itself in terms of competitiveness against the backdrop of the energy transition. It has a number of very important and daunting substitutes, in the form of solar and wind and so on that it needs to compete with in future. But I also believe that the people that's going to win will spot the opportunity to innovate in terms of really positioning it well in terms of the energy mix, whether that's as a storage medium or whether it's in terms of a buffering component in electricity systems. I really believe that is where the more difficult and value-adding innovation in terms of gas is going to play out.
Vladimir, from your end, innovation, what innovation is Gazprom planning to bring or has brought in the African arena?
Well, we haven't been able to do much yet. We're only present in Libya and Algeria. As of present, we had some projects in Nigeria and Namibia, but those ones were not so successful. First and foremost, for the lack of adequate guarantees for the investment. But like we said, we are looking to see the domestic markets develop, regional markets develop. We would like to see, we would be able to give our know-how in terms of long-term planning, supply transport systems like pipelines and small-scale LNG, as well as gas for vehicles as fuel.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to throw out this question, and anyone if you're willing to answer it. What are the new drivers for investment in natural gas? Anyone like to pick that question? Anyone? The new drivers for investment in natural gas. You can do it from a GE perspective. Yes.
I certainly don't believe they're new. They're not new, they've just been unmet.
Yeah.
Power is a massive driver for any type of development in LNG as an anchor customer. I won't go through the mathematics of what even our smallest machines require to produce, 30 megawatts of power, let alone what our biggest machine requires, our H class. So energy, power, security, industrialization, very, very critical. And I think then there's a second element, which is creating new economies and diversification of economies where there is an opportunity in markets. And so when we look at a market, for example, like South Africa, the question is, what can gas do for socio-economic development, for new skills that will be required, transition jobs that will be needed, entrepreneurs who are also downstream within this. Because from a power perspective, we certainly know what we can do, but we also then realize the opportunity size of what it then does to that market. And so, yeah, I think the drivers are certainly not new. I think they are all there, but I think we need to be deliberate about understanding what's probably most kind of high impact to us right now, and that's what we need.
Yeah, the fact that you've mentioned power and the significance of gas, I just want to read something out to you that I thought was interesting. I guess it had to take a lawyer to say this. This is NJ Ayuk. If Africa had discovered natural gas before crude oil, we would have been able to develop faster than we already have been. We need to tell African stories about how gas will change our future and how it'll change our continent. With 600 million plus people without access to electricity, energy poverty is real. It is not just a catchphrase. I never thought of it that way. For me, I came from a crude oil and, of course, natural gas background, but we do see the importance of natural gas and the role that it's playing within the African context. Let me ask Dr. Ibata. You mentioned about, or are you looking at petrochemicals within Congo and FLNG with regards to natural gas?
Yes, definitely. As I said, the main projects that were identified thanks to our gas master plan, one is the chemical industries for the development of the local market and floating FLNG for the export market, especially. But we started with electric power generation because, as we just said, it's one of the main drivers of the gas demand. And most of the African countries have started developing their natural gas market with power generation, and we think that Congo is in the right path.
Okay. Honorable Nyani, given the AfCFTA goals, what should African countries do to increase LNG trade intra-continentally?
Yeah. As for Congo, we also have an FLNG in this Grand Tortue Main project, where we plan to export 2.5 million per year in the phase one of the project to gas export, so LNG in the market. This is this is very important project for us, this one. But as Congo, our main drivers also will be the gas to power. Local gas to power. We'll use this gas for power generation and to try to reduce our price of kilowatt hour in Senegal. And we are having many projects in terms of power plants projects. But at the same time, we also are trying to export, the gas to use this money for this money to finance other projects like I was mentioning before, to finance our energy transitions and also all related to power generation with renewables and so on. And also in our gas master plan, we also have these petrochemicals that I explained, and so on, and many industry projects.
Vladimir, what lessons can we learn from Russia on pipeline infrastructure development?
Well, there is one that is critical, that is that long-term planning is paramount. You have to, if you're in a country where you don't have money competing for projects, and you only have as much money as you can, you have to prioritize and be able to make sure that you have the maximum bang for the buck that you spend. So that's why you plan ahead, you try and see what will be your consumers 10, 20 years down the line, and how this pipeline infrastructure can create opportunities downstream that will allow the country to recoup that investment. And sometimes you have to have bold steps, the ones that nobody will believe in, but they will happen, like the ones that was with the export to Germany. It started with a 4 billion cubic meters export. It was a small project. Nobody believed in it. It was between the political enemies, and it was a pipeline for gas deal. And then look, 40 years, 50 years down the line, it's a multi-billion dollar development. Same goes for the pipeline that comes to China, the one that has been completed already. Now the second one is being built. So we are firm believers that there's a huge potential in the region to cooperate, as long as there are no artificial barriers like subsidies and prices that are not realistic. As long as there is a way that one can bring to the customer the service the customer requires, the problems that the customer has will be solved, and they're willing to pay for it, because the current price for electricity in certain parts of Africa is prohibitive for any development. So we believe that the pipeline infrastructure is that kind of a backbone that can make the country build the industrial muscle it requires to be prosperous and safe in this time and age. So it's absolutely paramount.
I think this may be a good time to get the audience involved and ask a couple of questions. I'm not going to say just two people. And then I'll give each of you time to do your closing remarks. So who has the mic? And there she is. And any questions from the floor, please?
Apologies, Elizabeth. Before we conduct the Q&A, can we kindly call up Mr. Eric to come up on stage, and then there afterwards we'll conduct a quick Q&A.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Is he here? Honorable Eric Williams, President of Royal Triangle Energy Solutions, and the former Minister of Energy and Energy Industries. Can I leave my speakers on stage? Okay, then they'll do their closing remarks.
Yes, I'll handle this part. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Honorable, thank you. I'll give you space.
Sure. Thanks, Liz.
Good morning.
Morning. Yeah, good morning. Thanks a lot. Guys, 10 minutes. Okay, sure. Thank you very much. I think the original program was I should have come first, but I'm really glad I've come after. I want to challenge several of the things that you guys have said, and I really want to give you all some time to answer. To begin with, gas, indeed, you're right, was a nuisance to oil men. So we developed, as oil people, oil reticulation systems that didn't allow for the capture of gas. So we have a huge amount of methane leaks around the world in many countries. And we've given fossil fuels a bad name because of the association of the different types of fossil fuels. So when we talk about gas as a challenge, and at the same time we say that it's a cleaner alternative, we need to recognize the history of how we got to be here. That's the first thing. The second thing, if you are using gas as a fuel, as in power generation entirely, which is absolutely necessary, by the way, I agree with you fully, our power generation plants are not designed as yet to efficiently and economically capture carbon emissions. This is a fact, okay? So when we seek to turn the lights on, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, we run the risk of getting into the conversation with the environmental crowd that says you are polluting even more. That's two. The third one has to do with the model of Sasol, an excellent model for the forward linkage of local content. Now, local content, I used to be a minister of government in my country, in Trinidad and Tobago, and both power generation, upstream, midstream, and marketing of natural gas reported to me back in the day. We were doing 4.2 BCF a day of gas. In an integrated system, but but the integrated system had a significant flow. We in Trinidad and Tobago are the largest, or one of the largest, per capita emitters of carbon dioxide. And the reason for this is because we have 11 standalone ammonia plants. In the manufacturing of ammonia, you need to break the carbon and hydrogen molecule apart because ammonia only wants the hydrogen, so you have a problem with the carbon. And so it gets vented. But if you're making methanol, methanol wants carbon, oxygen, and the hydrogen, correct? So when I talk about the forward linkage of local content, when we talk about local content, as politicians, we like to say, as politicians, that jobs is a very sexy thing to say to the populace. It gets us votes. I used to be, as I told you, I was one of those at one time in my life. And currently I advise another one in another country. I'm the advisor to the minister in Mozambique at the moment for LNG and gas and strategy. Local content has two parts. The backward linkage is jobs and services in country. The forward linkage is industrialization using the gas domestically to generate value for the GDP and the GNI if done properly. It's not always done properly. So Sasol's model is an excellent model for the forward linkage of development in South Africa, utilizing the raw material that it gets from the upstream assets over in Mozambique. Correct? This is correct. Third, if you are only standalone ammonia, you are going to be a polluter of carbon dioxide, and you're going to need to find a way to capture that carbon dioxide. And hopefully, if you don't have reservoirs within which to put it, you're going to emit it. If you are a standalone methanol plant, you're not likely to be as great an emitter. But each of those plants has as its front end, and Vladimir, correct me if I'm wrong, and Sasol, correct me if I'm wrong, each of them has some kind of thermal reformer at the front end that costs about 1/3 of the capex of the plant, roughly. So what if, as especially the new countries that are getting into natural gas, what if you were to build a larger reformer at the front end that distributes hydrogen to ammonia and the carbon and the other pieces to methanol? Then you get the petrochemical development with a significant reduction in the carbon emissions, correct? And these will all need electricity, which means that you can use some of the gas, and by the way, the gas, once it's a little less than, well, around 95% methane or even less, there's a little bit of juice in it. That juice is called LPG, which you could put a little something that takes that out, that allows the LPG to be put into a local market, not necessarily for export, sorry. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Integration, using the natural resource here in Africa. Collaboration between the countries, not individual markets, but the reason for this conference, and I will not apologize for my passion, I'm known for it. NJ calls me Bomb Eric. I walk into rooms and I throw bombs. The reason for this conference is for Africans to speak and meet with Africans to talk about the development, collaboration, and continent-wide development of Africa, in Africa. And guys, the narrative that has been placed that creates and causes us here in and on the African continent to believe that we are somehow victims and that we have to find a way to fit into the overall way of doing things puts us immediately at a disadvantage. He's correct. The GECF is creating a bank. The Nigerian minister, Honorable Timi Silva, announced that it's time that the African countries get together and create a bank. So what I would sum up to you guys all is each of you is correct. And I'll say each of you is correct because once upon a time, as a young geophysicist, the elder heads called a bunch of us bright young sparks together to ask us, what is the purpose of an oil company? And each of us spoke about our own discipline. The engineers talked about the engineering. The petroleum engineers talked about the plumbing. We call them plumbers. The geoscientists talked about the rocks, so we were the rock heads, and all of that. And we were all very eloquent. And at the end of the day, the older heads said to us, you're all correct, but you're all wrong. The purpose of an oil company is to make money, period. We were public servants, and our purpose was to make sure that the country got a fair return on the activity. What we did not understand fully at that time, and what I want to suggest to you, is if you, those of us who've done some business studies, go back to some of the basic models for investment. Use the DuPont model. The DuPont model says net profit times total asset turnover times financial leverage equals return on equity. Well, the investor comes, and you're correct, I want a good return on equity for my shareholder. We as the countries, we don't understand the full equation. We work with the first two parts. And we seek to get a return on the asset. But the asset is of no value unless you put capital to turn it into something. And as countries, if we don't put, as we say, skin in the game and become part of the equity structure, we will not get the benefits that we should get from the asset in the ground. And let me give you an example, a simple example, and I'll walk away from this. And by the way, I should say that more than 10 years ago in the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, and I remember chairing the meeting because I was the presiding minister at one time of the GECF. I remember us coming to the conclusion that LNG is the worst return per molecule to a country unless you are a part of the entire value chain, which is why the Qataris are where they are today. They are a part of every part of the value chain. So let me just leave you with one small story. Last week I stayed at a hotel in Johannesburg on my way here, and I met a young man. The television in my room was giving trouble, so they sent the young tech to fix it, and we got to talking. The young man tells me that he came from the countryside where he was hoping to be a farmer, but his family thought he should go live with his uncle in Joburg. And the uncle had a house, but the uncle was unemployed. The young man had to find his way to pay for his education. In doing so, he came up on the idea that, wait a minute, people in this community are thirsty. So he started to buy and sell, adult beverages, shall we say. He would take his wheelbarrow, use his little money to buy some, bring it to his uncle's home. He had a garage, no car in the garage, so space. And he began a bottle business. That bottle business attracted more and more people. One day he tells me that one man dropped his wallet and went elsewhere and came back in a panic looking for his wallet. And he said, "Here it is, sir, it's all intact." And that man said, what a wonderful thing. I'm going to bring more of my friends to this place. And the clientele grew. And then people said, "But could you provide some food?" and so on. Let me put that in MBA speak. The young man, just using his initiative and instinct, found a way to use his equity in an asset that was idle, the garage, to create products for a market which he then created using his initiative. He developed consumer confidence because he was honest and he treated well with his clientele. And this allowed him to get a return on his equity, which caused him to be repairing the television in my hotel room because he studied to become a technician. And he said to me one thing at the end of it all. He said, Mr. Eric, I thank you because you've caused me to think. And you know, I want to tell you something, Mr. Eric. All we young people need is a little bit of guidance. We heard yesterday several very young ministers speak very eloquently and passionately about their countries and the way forward. I look at the audience here, and several of you fall into that category, and you are yourselves leaders. All this continent needs is the empowerment, the development of human capability and capacity of the human capital, and in particular the young people. And that will lead, in my respectful view, not only to the golden age of natural gas of this continent, but it will do so in a very revolutionary and new way of moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eric Williams. Highly appreciate it. We'll hand it over to Ms. Elizabeth Rogo for the Q&A. I've got the mic with me.
Thank you very much, Honorable Eric. I think it's always wonderful when you're in a conference to hear people really express how passionate they are about this very interesting industry that we're all involved in. So as I was saying, can we have questions from the floor? Yes, I've seen one. Please go ahead, sir. And anyone else to follow so we know how many hands? Any other hands? Maybe we can have a couple. I see a table here, a gentleman here. Anyone else? We'll take a couple of questions, yeah. Okay. Please go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Elizabeth. My name is Nick de Block. I'm with KEYNOTE Energy. My query is directed towards Marinus at Sasol. In a few months' time, it will represent the 30th anniversary of Pundi 11, which my friend Mike here and I worked on. We're now old men. 30 years is a long time. 20 to 30 years in the producing life of any given field or grouping of fields, is a long time. My first question is, what is your opinion of the security of the future supply from your Vilankulos-based assets, Pundi, Temane, and Yosoro? As a strategist, I've no doubt, you'll be driving Sasol to be looking towards further regional supply to maintain the flow rates that you require. But having said that, there are 3 or 4 operators who have rights in the very proximate area of Secunda and that general Mpumalanga region. Does Sasol have a a policy towards promoting indigenous gas from domestic supply, to prioritize, if you like, proximate gas rather than regional, or in additional to regional. And indeed, does Sasol even have the faith that these local assets are going to be able to produce substantive enough flow rates, to satisfy your needs? Sorry, there are a couple of little queries in there. Thanks, Marines.
Thank you. I'll try to deal with the ones that I can remember. So if you're dealing with a more than 1,000-kilometer pipeline, if you ask whether there are risks, there are certainly a lot of risks that come with that we are well aware with, and that we're trying to manage and stay abreast of as well as we can. We have in the past certainly looked at various opportunities in terms of indigenous gas, and I think we are open-minded as a business in general to look at at ongoing opportunities. So if there are opportunities, we do screen them, and we do take decisions on them. But I think if you're dealing with long gas pipelines, risk is very much part of the game.
Thank you so much. Akash would like to add on to that as well.
Yeah, thanks, Yuri, for your question. I'm the SVP for gas sourcing and operations in Sasol. So maybe just to answer the question on the declining fields and Pandita mining, you're absolutely correct. I mean, the fields will decline naturally. This is expected. So 25, 26 timeline, you expect those fields to go down. What we do have is quite a few options. So let me start with talking about LNG, and the conversation here was quite critical. And if you look at countries like India and China and so forth, and Pakistan, they have many terminals to bring in LNG. So what we're trying to do is to foster that growth, whether it's Matola, Richards Bay, or Kruger. We're playing that game, and we'll talk about that in the panel subsequent to that. So that's kind of, let's say, one part of the optionality. The second part of the optionality is that the fields can be extended in life, so there's a multitude of projects that are on the go. And then to just add, and then Mr. Eric, thank you for highlighting Sasol in Mozambique. We've actually then taken FID on the PSA project, which supplies gas both to the CTT project, which provides power to Mozambique, as well as excess gas to South Africa. So that's also extending the plateau. We've also got exploration fields, near fields that we have licenses for, which we will start drilling next year. So there's optionality in that particular space, and we also have offshore fields together with partners in QP and ENI that we will probably explore in the next couple of years. Maybe we'll drill those fields. So those optionalities are all there. Given the volumes that we require to decarbonize, especially Secunda, I think we have those volumes up to 2030, so that strategy is real and being executed as we speak. So, and to your last question, I think we're pretty open to anyone who wants to play in the gas space. So if you can jump into the pipeline and provide those molecules, it's not a Sasol game. It is a South African Inc. game. And I think it serves us well that if we can fill that pipeline up, then all the industry players in that space can make it work. And then obviously there's a volume versus price game, which we need to talk about. And how do we make that work? Together with government, both in South Africa as well as Mozambique. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lachman. Thank you. Any other questions?
There was one more question right here.
Thank you to all the speakers. We've heard some success stories in Congo, in Senegal, and in South Africa. Is there a wider kind of Africa-wide gas strategy to create a fully functional gas marketing and trading sort of organization to facilitate the transformation and decarbonization of the whole continent? Because I think there's a lot of individual success stories, but I've not heard anything about, how do we connect, the producing parts of Africa with the consuming parts of Africa through functioning gas markets.
Anyone want to answer that? That's a very good question. It's one of my questions that I was going to end with, but go ahead.
And I think I'll approach this from a power perspective around that coordination. There is a regional gas master plan that's underway for the SADC region. At the moment, we know that there is no connect to the other corridors, the economic corridors that are being developed. And one of the most important things around that regional master plan is not only for us to view gas in Mozambique as our own gas, it's indigenous gas to all of us, but also when you look at the SADC region from an aggregated demand perspective, very critical for creating not only the right economies of scale for gas to bring down the tariffs substantially, but it also then allows for this intertrade from an economy perspective around the market itself. So from an awareness point of view, you know, and I think this is as far as the coordination goes for now. And I'm sure that other blocks have similar coordination in West Africa and as well as in the Franco regions.
Does anyone else want to pick on that? Because that's an interesting question.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a very, very important question. From the electricity perspective, we have the West African Power Pool where we are really discussing about this electricity master plan and so on. And I think that we need to work on it also in the gas perspective with the different countries to see what we are all doing in terms of gas master plan and so on, and try to have something more integrated. And I think people should all start to work on it. Because even with a kind of organization like Apple or so on, we need to start to work on it and to discuss on these topics, because we need to have an integrated one. Then it will enable the different countries to have to better know what we are doing each other and for better coordinations. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Any other question? So if there's no questions, maybe I can give each of you a minute or so as closing statements on this particular topic. Can I start off with you, Vladimir, please?
Thank you very much, first and foremost, for this beautiful event and for an opportunity for me to speak here. It was a pleasure. A lot of interesting information from the meeting today. Very inspiring speech from Dr. Eric, Honorable Eric, and the right questions about the possibility of regional integration. I'm not sure the continent can integrate as a whole. It has different dynamics. There are different forces at play. Certain regions have other resources than gas. There are some significant hydropower potential in certain parts of the continent, but definitely within the smaller regional groups, the 5 of them, I think, the West Africa, East Africa, South Africa, North Africa, there will be integration. And I'm very hopeful. I'm, like many other people here, very passionate about Africa and a firm believer that the next gas frontier is here. Everything else is most of taken, but here the gas will flourish.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vladimir. Dr. Ibata?
Thank you very much. I want to thank the organizer of the conference for giving us a chance to speak about the baby step we are doing in natural gas in Congo. And if we are talking about cooperation, we in Central Africa, we don't have yet a kind of integration, but we are working on it. And as such, we are organizing at the end of November in Congo-Brazzaville a conference for all the African Central countries, but any other countries are welcome to come. And this conference is organized by the Minister Obiang Lima and Minister Bruno Jean-Richard Itwa, and the main question that we are going to look at during this conference is how to work on this integration for our region first, and how we can make this integration move forward once we know what we want to do as the CEMAC countries, and we'll see what we can do with the rest of Africa after that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ibata. Ms. Nasizwe, sorry.
That's great. Thank you so much for the invite. It's always refreshing, I think, for people who are passionate about the same thing, to get together, meet face to face after, I think, quite a long time.
Yeah.
I think just a couple of notes. I like to tell a story that General Electric built its second office. Thomas Edison built his second office after the US in South Africa.
I didn't know that.
And so our stay here has truly been a long game. Yes, we've had moments of having to move in and out, but we've always remained committed to this region. And I think that's critical, because a lot of people talk about, if you want to be in gas, it is a long game. You have to be in it. You have to have the patience that's required. What is top of mind for us, and what I'd like to leave the audience with, is that we are committed to decarbonization. and telling what we believe is probably one of the most authentic stories around how gas contributes immediately to the leapfrog of decarbonization in a market where that opportunity is required. Secondly, we are a partner to industrialization. That's where we find our high. We've been in Senegal for quite a number of years, waiting to capture this opportunity, wanting to see Senegal industrialize further, and we want to be part of that story, as we want to be part of that story in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Angola, as well as South Africa. We are committed to innovation. A huge focus now, obviously, from a pre-combustion perspective around the topic of hydrogen. Very exciting to us. Fuel flexibility has been one of our key markers as a business. We are the only ones that have technology that has 18,000 running hours on hydrogen at 95%. We want to be able to retell that story in markets that want to investigate this hydrogen conversation. South Africa probably, and Namibia being quite prolific. And then lastly, as we think about what always remains top of mind for us is how are we going to build capacity in Africa for Africans with plants operated by our own group set of people. And lastly, what I'd like to share with our audience is that we are open to partnerships across the value chain of the gas to power cycle development. We are open to conversations. We are open to joint pilot projects, should you have that same appetite that we do. Because we are here to stay. And we hope that we can be part of making gas a prolific story for our region and really being able to create the industrialization spirit that the region needs to grow.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable Nyani.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for this fruitful discussion. So I wanted maybe to highlight the importance of regional cooperation, as was mentioning. In our area, we start already with the MSGBC, Mali, Senegal, Guinea, Mauritania, Senegal, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, and so on. And I think this should be larger, in a larger side, even to go to other countries in West Africa and even in Central Africa and so on. The cooperation should be larger between the different African countries. We can learn from each other. And I think that this gas is very important for our countries. And I will say again that we need to think in the African, as African, how we'll finance our gas projects. The financing of these projects is very important and a very important topic to discuss. And also, as Congo, I invite all of you also to this conference in Senegal in December 13 and 14, the MSGBC Basin Conference that will be organized in Senegal with ECP and NGL as well, where we will discuss all these important topics with the different ministers and different companies and all the actors of the oil and gas industry. Everybody is welcome. And thank you again for organizing this panel. And in Senegal, we have many projects in terms of gas, or even for the downstream side with the national pipelines that we want to build to transport the gas to the different power plants. Also, we have many power plants under construction with GE, for example, and other partners. So everybody is welcome in Senegal for investing in gas, and we thank you very much.
Thank you. And not but last, Mr. Marinus.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I echo the sentiments of my fellow panelists in terms of the excellence of the conference and the value. I think, at the end, I'm reminded of a story that I heard about a young person that spoke to his mentor, and his mentor said, "I'm going to share with you the secret to life." And the young person, of course, was all ears, and the mentor said to him, "The secret to life is nothing works." And he left it there. And the young person left, and of course he was very perplexed. He was trying to struggle with this concept of nothing works. How can that be the secret to life? And he went back the next day, and his mentor said, yes, you left too early. You didn't hear me say, nothing works. You have to make it work. And I think that's very much part of the call to action for us, particularly around gas and the role that it can play in Africa. And talking about, and I'm very much supportive of the notion that organizations need to be profitable, but I think there's also a separate scorecard, and I think the size of the prize in terms of what gas can do is very significant. I want to quote very briefly a couple of stats from the Sustainable Development Goals report of the United Nations that expects that 7% of the world population will still live in poverty by 2030. More than 2 billion people will either not have food to eat or not have access to a healthy, balanced diet on a regular basis. Access to affordable and reliable energy. About a third of the world population still uses dangerous and inefficient cooking methods. I think one of the delegates yesterday said, cooking gas is not a small issue to us. Gas can combat climate change and its impact, and also reduce inequality within and among countries, which is an aspect that is incredibly important for the African continent. So I think from that perspective, that really is a worthwhile scorecard that all of us can be passionate about, apply gas to, and again, you know, it's not going to work by itself. We will have to make it work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for making me also look good, because you've shown opportunities for partnership, for good networking, exciting development opportunities. You're passionate experts, strong localizations. I'm very happy to hear that. I'd like to end by saying, let Africa not be afraid, but develop using what God has given her with responsibility and for the benefit of all of us. Thank you again. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you.